Good morning, traders. Take a look at our complimentary Pro Trader Premier video of what our subs get every day in their inbox for $69 a month. Daily strategy video, $15 a month. That's less than 50 cents a day. And of course, our Pro Trader Premier trading room and our algorithm really just killed the oil and gold trade. We did fantastic. Lots and lots of subs made some money. I want you to take a look at it. And please give us a call or comment at support@tradingmarkettechnicals.com. We really love your input. Take a look at it. Enjoy the video. Good morning, traders. Welcome to the TMT Pro Trader Premier video for Friday, May 5th. Lot to cover, guys. We are still stuck in a range here. You can see this here in the ES. Our levels remain the same: 2400 resistance, 2378.75. But that's not the big picture here on the indexes. They're really not doing anything. Although the transports are really starting to weaken, as well as the Russell 2000, which is our secondary leader. So there's some signs that we are getting a little bit of some pressure internally. Now, this is the French elections, and the final results will be this weekend. Now, again, you know how I feel. French elections, I think it's a waste. I think this was just literally a joke just to buy the market. Healthcare reform bill, I think eked out. They passed yesterday, and markets really didn't react too much to it, other than it was selling off, and then we popped back up again. So I think the outcome is going to be this weekend, and whether they like it or not, who knows? It's not what we think or what the markets think. It's how and what price is doing. Okay, that's going to be the big factor here for Monday's trade. Okay, because it's going to be announced over the weekend. But here's the French election, so we're just sitting here sideways, and I do believe the bigger powers of B, meaning the bigger money managers, portfolio managers, are probably waiting to see the results. And I really still don't understand why it's such a big deal here for the United States. It really isn't. But remember, guys, it's any type of excuse. We're in a sentiment-based market now, the last and final leg of this market, where I think that the markets are still going to head higher, at least one more big push-up, something like this, 6, 7, 8, 9 days. People don't believe it, and we're just going to rally from there. And then ultimately, PEs are just going to get out of control. Our earnings haven't been that great, again, and the market just keeps going higher. But that's going to be your cue and us here at TMT to point you in the direction when we think the market's going to top. And we're looking really good. Our model here is getting close and close. Still not there yet, and I do believe we're going to get one more big push up. But again, ES daily, no change. What's really the big picture is you guys have been doing fantastic in gold and crude oil. A lot of the analysis work that we do here and research on gold and crude oil, you guys have been doing really, really well on. So hats off to you guys, and let's get right to the rest of the video, the research video. No change again. You can see we've been stuck in a range for 7 trading days. 2378.75, 2400 is going to be the top, guys. There's nothing even I can even talk about here. There's nothing to say. It's just an extreme amount of chop, and you as professionals should identify the chop. Either you embrace it by scalping it, or you stay away, and you look for a different asset class, like many of you have been doing. Nasdaq NQ daily, still stuck in a range here. That previous 3-day high is the highest resistance. 21 EMA will be the 54.41.42 is your really next area of support. And then we have the gap fill area here, which I always say that we ultimately do fill the gaps. We don't know when, but we do. And I think that's going to be back to the target here. And then we would reevaluate it. But ultimately, this is where the big line in the sand is drawn, right here. 53.44 that big area, and then you got that major thin zone here. Okay, so just keep an eye on that on a daily NQ. Again, 10-minute, you can see the steep move. Now we're just hovering here. So 56.11, okay, the versus 56.40.25. That's going to be your high off the 10-minute. These are your valid valid zones for today's trade, for Friday's trade, NQ daily. Now let's talk about gold. We mentioned gold, right? We said gold, we have a gap area, needs to be filled here. We hold in. If we lose the TMT proprietary price channels, we're probably going to go lower. Sure enough, look what happened yesterday. We're coming right into the gap structure, and that is exactly what we're looking to be filled. I said do not look to buy here. I wouldn't look to short, but I wouldn't look to buy. I think the short is going to be hard because you'd have to really stick with it. And you know, coming off of almost 70, 80 points lower, and not really with no fear. I would really not be interested in shorting. I'm looking to be a better long player. I do believe gold has set its second stage bull market run from 2016. However, we need to identify this gap, fill, and we need to hold here, at least double bottom into this area. If not, we're going to lose it and go all the way back down here. And that, to me, would be a little nerve-wracking if I want to look to buy gold here for the longer term. All right, you can see here that we're still not oversold, so there is a little room to run. My guess, we start filling the gap like I've been mentioning for the last couple of weeks in gold. All right, that is going to be your levels for today's on the daily chart. Here is going to be, I'm identifying the areas to alleviate downside pressure. 1249.20, we need to get above it and close above it for a couple of days. This is your area from yesterday's trade. Small little area support, so write them down, guys. These are valid for today's trade. Okay, and you guys are doing very well in gold. Okay, next is GDX, and we talked about why we wouldn't want to be a buyer. You could see clearly here, we were talking about this corrective move, broke out of this neckline. We failed miserably. We tried to break out again. We put in a lower high from this previous high, and we said 25.80 needs to get taken out, or we're not going to get long. We're looking to get short, and sure enough, some of you guys got short GDX, and that's a great looking trade right there. 1913 to me, guys, ultimately I think we're going to get a flush into the low 20s, maybe the high 19s, and we got to hold this previous bottom. And I want to see GDX start to move. If GDX does not move, the miners do not move, gold is not going to move. And we're coming into a seasonal time of weakness, which we are in already, sometime in June. It alleviates that, and then we start getting into a base building period, and then we start gets really bullish by September with the Indian weddings. Okay, so keep that in mind, guys. Very important here. We're into weakness. Unless you're building a very large position and you're averaging in, that's one thing. Most of us can't do that. So keep an eye on this structure here, on these areas that they're more than likely going to be a better buy. All right, now let's talk about crude oil here, okay? In our model, I'm going to be showing you a lot of stuff. We have rig counts that come out today, and we also have commitment of trader reports, which we'll dissect over the weekend and give you a big analysis in crude. Many of you are now trading it since we called the short. That's fantastic. You can see this is bullish percent and ENER. This is a percentage of stocks, all right, oil stocks, based on a point and figures chart. Very reliable. We're down at the 14. We're almost down at washout levels. Actually, we are down at washout levels. Today in the overnight, we hit $45. I'll show the chart to you. I'm looking really good for a buy for a retracement rally. We talked about supply and demand. There is overabundance of supply. You can throw a rock at a rock in the ground and oil will come up. We talked about 12 major super tankers here parked in the Mediterranean, nowhere to go with the oil. We have shale coming back online, Venezuela coming online, we have Nigeria coming back online, and we also have technology that's been, the forefront here of pulling oil out of the ground. And us in the United States are producing mass amounts of oil. So the OPEC members are really less. They can't really do anything. They don't have the clout anymore to move oil where they want it. Everybody, OPEC and of course the oil producing nations want $50-$55 oil. We talked about it when it was at 53. I said absolutely not. It should not be there. And sure enough, many of you guys made some really big money. And hats off to you. And I'm really excited about that. Okay, watch. We're looking for a bounce here. If you are short, tighten up your shorts. If you're swinging oil, and if you're not, let's look. I wouldn't look to get short here. I'd be looking for a base building area. I want to see what happens over the weekend, and we'll put out an oil and gold report as well. Here's volatility for crude oil, and we're back outside the band. Remember, we get out of the band and close in the band, we get a nice little rally. We get out of the band, close in the band, we get a rally, and so on and so forth. You can see here. So we're now outside the band. Look at this thumbnail. We need to close back in the third day, take out the low of that closed candle, and then we look to get long. So there's a little bit involved to get long crude oil, but I'm just going to show you the volatility for crude. We're almost there. Okay, let's see what happens if we get a little bit of a flush. This is in the overnight this morning. We're down to $45. Remember, guys, we had that little area here. I said, watch, we're going to probably break through, and sure enough, we broke through. There was two little small areas of support right up in here. I identified them now as the dotted line here. 47.28 is going to be the main area. That needs to break back above it to even get some sort of a bounce. Okay, 47.28. Let me just write that down. I thought I put that in there. 47.28. Let's get that there. 47 dot spot 28. All right, that's going to be the area, guys. We need to really watch this area here for a reversal. Okay, or if we go even lower, and we could, and I think $45, $44.80, somewhere in there will probably hold. If that doesn't hold, we're going to really flush, but we're kind of oversold now. So keep an eye on crude oil on the daily. These are your levels for today's trade. These are your new areas of support. Okay, 10-minute, you can see here 45. That's the low from this morning. 47.82, right up in this area. This little cluster we have to really break back above it in the short term, the very short term. If we break lower, that's going to change. Okay, but these are your levels for today's trade in crude oil. And again, hats off to the guys that were trading it. ZB 30-year bonds. This is your area here. If we lose this proprietary price channel, we're going to really break down, and this is your area for today's trade. These are your areas for resistance. And again, guys, we need to take out 155.09 to get long for a gap fill, and then we're going to re-enter short. We've talked about how rates have made a generational low, I believe, in July of last year, and I think that bonds are going to go much lower. But of course, we're going to have some corrective rallies in between, and that's going to be create good shorting opportunities. Okay, ZB, here's your big clusters. Write them down, put them on your chart. These are valid for today's trade in the ZB. TLT, again, we need to take out the 200-day moving average, which coincides beautifully with the swing high for this gap fill area, and then we would look to re-enter short. We are on sell signals on MACD and RSI on a daily chart, okay? But these are your valid entries, valid zones for today's trade. Transports, our main leader, not leading. You can see that here of the indices that we follow. These are your bigger pictures. We're in the big horizontal channel. Okay, watch the thin zone here. We talked about this. We lose this 200-day moving average, ultimately the 167.76. We lose this, guys, we're going lower. That's going to help the bearish case. That's why I think we still have a little bit more room to run to the upside, and I think the French elections are going to do it, because if they rallied them on preliminary results, and again, I laugh about that. Don't ask me why. But if they get the main results and they get whoever they want in office, meaning the bigger picture, the bigger money managers and portfolio managers, then we're going to rally, and that should set the tone for a bigger move up. All right. If we start to break down, I think that could cap any further move to the upside. But we need to pay attention to the transports. All right. Let's take a look at our indices. Same thing here, like I showed you on the ES. I know you guys like to trade spiders as well as I do. You can see here 7 days trading, basically no change. 238.40, 240.48, support resistance off the daily. Okay, 10-minute spiders. Again, guys, we've been in a range here for 7 trading days. 238.54, 238, really round out to 238. That's going to be your areas that need to get taken out to alleviate or take out this support area and resistance area to start moving to the upside and or to start moving to the downside. And I think we get to the 236. We gap fill this. We gap fill this whole big picture here. Okay, so let's keep an eye on that. But these are your levels for today's trade. Next is going to be IWM, and you can see here our secondary leader not leading. 136.57 is going to be the next support area for today. Ultimately, I think it does break down. You can see this thin zone here that we have to get to the 61.8. That'll be the bigger picture target. Our first real target is going to be the 130.94. That's the 38% retracement. We've been sitting here pretty much just hovering around the upper end of the top. And let's see where we go from here. Your resistance today, 140.95, 141.80, way out there. Okay, but that's your IWM daily. Next, IWM 10 minutes. You can see small little areas of support. Write them down for today's trade. To alleviate this little small downside move, 138.70 needs to get taken out for today's trade. If we take that out, we get a next little pullback above our trend line. Okay, then we're going to look for a long trade, because remember, once we take this area out, 138.70 becomes what? Support, as well as the 138.34. Okay, and then we're looking for areas of resistance way up in here. Write them down for today's trade. Last is going to be your Qs. Same thing, guys, no change. 137.38, 136.80. That's going to be in the Qs. And then your 10-minute, you can see this uptrend line here coincide very well with price. 136.76 needs to get taken out for some further downside. We'll get that gap fill that we're looking for here. Get the gap fill here, and you can see the gap areas identified, 135.86 and your resistance is 137.45. Right, guys, a lot to cover. Write all of these actionable zone areas on your charts. Get them ready for today's trade. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be a great day to trade, especially watch the crude oil and gold. We've been doing really well with that. And of course, if you guys are looking to come into the trading room, we have our algorithm that runs and produces some great signals in gold and crude. Have a great day. Enjoy the weekend. We'll see you on Monday.